Am I mad?
I would love to see it. I would appreciate it more than I can say.
All right, guys, we're gonna get right into it, man. We got a few characters here: Geraldo Rivera, Brian Tyler Cohen, Piers Morgan. Will Trump be able to stop World War III?
Going to war, that World War III won't be visited upon us. These are two intractable problems that I don't know how in the world they are solved. Does Ukraine give up half of its territory? Do the Israelis trust that Hamas will yield the hostages that have been underground for a year? I think that these are very, very difficult. It's easy to be glib about things, social issues, cultural issues. But when it's life and death, and now with the launch of the intercontinental ballistic missile, of course, it didn't go intercontinentally, but it was ballistic missile. It was gravity driven, and it impacted 400 miles away. And I understand that yesterday's news was that the red phone was employed by Russia to counsel our defense department that they were not launching an ICBM strike on the United States. I mean, that's bone chilling to me.
It is, but I still think it is bone chilling. But that's exactly what Putin wants us all to feel, bone chilled. And he's been rattling the nuclear weapons card against us now for 2.5 years.
Here we go with Piers bullshit.
Every time a red line's been crossed, he doesn't actually use them. I think he's full of shit.
Piers, though, can you even imagine if this were happening on Donald Trump's watch, and we were being marched straight into World War III, and he was meandering through a Brazilian rainforest, and J.D. Vance was on vacation in Hawaii?
No, I don't disagree with that. I think that is a very valid point. No, I think that's a very valid point. But I do think, I would say to you, Carrie, though, I would say what I said to a lot of Republicans is, if you go back 30 years, the idea that any Republicans would be remotely interested in saying that America shouldn't help a sovereign democratic European country repel an invading Russian dictator would have been unthinkable.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are.
Here we are.
You've all done a complete volte-face.
$260 billion of our treasure to this country to help. The war was lost when they lost the spring offensive. We should have gone to the negotiating table and brought in our best negotiators to bring peace. This is not a Democrat-Republican issue. This is about bringing peace to the world. And instead, we've got a guy who can't even find his way off a stage, allowing this to continue on. If he cares one iota about America, he would get on the phone with Donald Trump and ask him to come in right now and help negotiate peace. I think it can happen. I trust that President Trump can make that happen, but I don't trust that Joe Biden loves this country enough to make that happen.
Yeah, but I think we should also remember who the really bad guys here are. It's Vladimir Putin.
Oh, God.
His Russian
Piers always has to be on script, guys.
Invaders, because they did what they did, and they didn't need to do that, and they did it. And I grew up in a big military family, and the idea that a Russian dictator could just invade European countries and help himself to their land would have been completely unthinkable that we would want to accept that.
But how are we trying to stop that? We're just pouring more money into the war instead of trying to stop it.
To which I would say,
you want to leave everything else that happened before that led up to Russia invading Ukraine, Piers. That's what you want to do, right?
Well, I would say, what price? Freedom and democracy.
Well, $260 billion, and now we're hearing that as much as half of that may have been laundered through Ukrainian officials, and much of it coming back into Democrat politicians.
But what would you say, all right, but Carrie, what would you have said in 1939 when Hitler invaded Poland?
No, I'm talking about this war right now.
Well, I'm saying it's a similar thing. You got a total nutcase in charge of invading hordes, invading a sovereign European democratic country.
Piers, America is bearing the brunt of the funding of this, and I don't see Europe clamoring to throw their treasure in like America.
Britain has actually given more than any other European country, but I take your point. I do think
Not more than America.
Well, no, of course, and I do think America always has to get the lion's share. Brian, just quickly, these two wars, Trump says he can fix them. They're very complicated, both of them, in terms of not just what's happened in the last year or two, but also historically. The history of these conflicts. Do you think he can pull off peace?
I think that Donald Trump has shown through his own rhetoric and even his cabinet appointments, including somebody like Tulsi Gabbard as DNI, I think he's shown whose side he's on. I mean, the fact that Kari Lake can't even come forward and say that a warmongering totalitarian dictator seeking to take the territory of a sovereign country is bad, and just waving her hands around about money, and that's more important than protecting the sovereignty of a free country, especially one, by the way, who is aligned with China, and they've got territorial ambitions as well, including Taiwan.
Right.
And we have a vested interest in terms of our economy of having Taiwan be a free state. The fact that all of these people can't take a clear-eyed view of this because they're so aligned with, I don't know whether it's Putin and that axis of evil, whether it's just focusing on making the U.S. more like the illiberal state that Russia is. I'm not sure which one it is. I get why they see a lot of Putin in Donald Trump, and so they're putting on full display which side they're on. So do I think that they're going to seek peace for in deference to democracy in the world? No, I think that Donald Trump has already shown which side
that's
he's
where
on.
liberals go wrong when they compare Putin to Trump. It's like with all that Nazi stuff. It was so.
Yeah.
It's so.
But I didn't call him a Nazi.
It irks me because it's.
I didn't call him
so,
a Nazi. I said
no, you didn't.
There are
you called him a
authoritarian leanings between
totalitarian.
Putin and Trump.
There's no comparison.
Geraldo,
invade
Donald
Canada.
Trump tried to subvert the election result. He tried to subvert a free and fair election, incited an insurrection on January 6th. Don't memory hold this.
And he was impeached for it. He was impeached for it. That's the way we judge.
You know that impeachment. You know that an impeachment process counts for nothing when you have an entire Congress that's under
I'm afraid we've run out of time. We've run out of time. Great panel. Lovely to have you all. Please come back again. I enjoyed that very much. Great to see you.
Thanks. Great seeing you, Piers.
Yeah, Piers wants to leave the fact that Russia was cornered, Putin was cornered, he was demonized by the collective West. They had Ukraine, which was a fake state, a project created by NATO, which is a money laundering scam organization, used to money launder via warfare in wars throughout the European continent and elsewhere, right? They have bioweapons stored, nuclear bioweapons stored in tunnels right under Russia on the border of their entire country, plotting and scheming for the next attack, the next war where they can launder billions of dollars of our taxpayer money to democratic elitists in the United States. Man, dude, I can't believe that people like that, and if Trump thinks that he's going to be able to isolate Iran and he's going to get the United States involved in a war with Iran, he has another thing coming, man. He has another thing coming. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump gets, if they go after him, like they either try to, finish him off like they try to do twice already, or they cause some type of civil unrest in the United States, which could happen. There's a lot of tension brewing here. A lot of fucking tension brewing in America, all right? With all these immigrants and stuff. So we'll see how it pans out, man. We'll see how it pans out.